I actually do like have a lovely mic which I can attach to my shirt. It makes actually the whole thing easier rather than just holding the mic in my hand. But I really like this compressor. It just makes me think better. So back to the topic of the day. My name is Valentine. Shit, sorry. My name is Valentine Jingwa. And here are the stigmas that I've sort of picked up while growing, at the same time, like while watching the media or interacting with black women. And by no means in this video I'm trying to shame or trying to point fingers at people's personality traits. I do definitely think that the personality traits are amazing to actually view, and I do definitely love personality traits of unique individuals. Those are really just, I would say, interesting things to view about a person. They just make a person more humane, unique, and well, of course, there are some common traits that I've realized, like in general, with more specifically black women or women of color. I would say actually precisely, I would not say women of color because women of color will include like the Asian women, the Caucasian women, the Colombian women, the well, you get the drift, but the black women specifically because I grew up with most of them. So there's this weird stuff that you see on, let's say, United States social media. Like if you meet any black women, they usually like you meet them on the street, they ask them. I don't know where the hell they find these women, but they're like, "How much do you rate yourself?" Yeah, if you've ever heard this question, you know the answer that follows up. I'm a 10. Why? Why so? It made me really question like, is it what Beyonce said, all the single ladies? And now there's a bunch of ladies being baby mamas and single. Yeah, I don't think that's what she meant when she said all the single ladies. I think she was like preaching independence, but anyways, people took it wrong in the wrongest ways possible. Um, Stigmas that I've noticed, like I said, they call themselves tens. Of course, they have honest ratings. Like if you were to ask me how much do I rate myself, yeah, I think of myself as a five. And why five? Because I still have a lot of room for improvement. I don't think everybody will rate me the same way, and my hair really looks like a mushroom. Well, the barber messed up. Like I was supposed to have like this top fades like this here, but well, it is what it is. My hair is just the way it is, so I've given up. But yeah, like I said, I rate myself a five, but I don't know why they're not humble enough to give themselves just that point one off, just to humble themselves slightly lower. And I would say partially because a lot of them are not Christians anymore, and that's the sort of role that religion plays. Like partially, it teaches you how to humble yourself. Christianity, especially for me, just taught me how to humble myself. And I'm not Christian, I'm atheist. But I do believe that that value itself is really important because it makes other people around you not just feel, let's say, it makes you feel more humane around other people. It makes people feel more, I would say, unguarded. It also makes them feel more comfortable. Let's say if I had an insecurity about myself, right? If I say I'm a nine, right? It means I have that one left as an insecurity. That is good. That is a good thing. Everybody has insecurities. That is my one that I've taken off. I say I'm a five because I have so much insecurities. Some other people might say six, some might say seven. And those values to me indicate the insecurities that the people have. When any black woman says she's a 10, that is almost terrifying first to me because it means she wants to be the one to wear the pants, or she wants you to wear the pants, which means taking a huge ton of responsibilities. Don't get me wrong, responsibilities are things that well men are being taught, men are men have for generations taken until like the patriarchy is being pointed finger at, and they're saying, well, the patriarchy sucked. Personally, I agree the patriarchy sucked, but the the weird values that were instilled during the patriarchy for women, which was men take a huge responsibility into family and caring and providing. That's what the patriarchy taught. Now, the women are grown with these similar values, predominantly the black women, and they put so much responsibilities onto the man just by saying she's a 10. Like she's basically says she comes with the whole package, but yeah, you have to take care of that package. Yeah, it's terrifying. Like honestly, it's just terrifying. It's just humble yourself and say nine, and I'm going to give you a thumbs up and give you a big hug and probably a kiss. 100%. The second sort of stereotype that I would see is the weird accent. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't know. Like they say, all the black men, for example, we have an accent. If you were to turn off this video and just listen to my voice alone, you would know I'm a black person. Probably from the vibration in my voice. I'm not sure why a bunch of black people have it. I don't know why. And probably also because like I have like the partial Cameroonian accent or the Jamaican or the whatever accent. It's just something that's mixed in between. But for the most part, they have that accent and also sharp voices. They're loud. Don't get me wrong. I love clear people. When I mean clear, I mean like they speak clearly, not loudly. And I don't know. I have an ick for a sharp voice. And for some reason, almost every black woman that I've met has just that pitch in the voice that just makes me. The voice is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's nice. But I'm like, this is a voice I heard while growing up. Like when your mom was saying, go clean up your room. So it basically reminds me of my mom and anybody or any woman or figure in my life that basically controlled my life till puberty. And they were terrifying as hell. So bad memories for the most part. Also, yeah, the black woman also's ability to not take bullshit. They're one of the most serious people that I've ever met. Like when they're speaking bullshit, they speak bullshit. But when they're like speaking serious, they don't want to hear bullshit. And this is probably because, well, me for example, I love speaking science, which means I talk about evolution, I talk about change, or I switch into programming and I start thinking of programming and codes and everything, or I start talking about my life. I have like this sort of circular discussion, but I always keep like almost a topic. And yeah, the black women look at that and they're like, weird. Like, I think I've been called a couple of times by some other women, especially the few of them that I've met in my life, especially girls around my age. They're like, I don't know, there's just something about you that is weird. Like you give that vibe of somebody that is thinking far, like really far. Don't get me wrong, they're really accurate on that. And that's actually the scary part about it. Because my first impression of meeting any woman is I meet them, I think, I see the future, or I predict what the future might be like. I predict the changes of personality the person might go through. And I'm like, the ending looks nice. And if the ending looks suitable enough, I'm like, let's go for it. But I've never gone for any woman. So it's so hard because I always look at most women, like the few ones that I've ever met that match those personality types that I'm like, I could probably spend the rest of my life with this woman. They're all taken. That's how bad it is. And most of the time I'm just like, well, I have to give up. And a lot of the black women around my age right now are all taken. I don't know how that happened. Guessing they're high value or they just man hunting. Like I call it man hunting because they usually ask the guys to date or they're so forward to the guy. The guy has no choice but to ask them out. It's amazing. I like in my country, I was what in high school, a bunch of girls just flocking around most of the time. I had to behave insane so that they just leave me be. That's how bad it was. And you don't want to be in that situation. Oh Christ. It takes me like it's taken me almost a year or two to recover because behaving insane for almost 3 years is not the best thing. Also, I wasn't working out, so my arm became really skinny. A lot of people from high school remember me as like the buff black guy. Yeah, I should not be describing myself as that way. I was what, lifting 45 pounds, like, and I was like, oh, I think I'm strong, but I'm not. It was pretty bad. I regret doing that now. So, yeah. So the ick in personality would just be the dominance, the sheer dominance that they sort of exude is terrifying to like many degrees. I would say for most men, especially the ones that are slightly on the misogynistic side. I'm not on the misogynistic side because that's pretty much what they describe it as, misogynistic, because they want women that behave slightly submissive. And submissive to me is not essentially just, oh, master. Submissive is, I can't do this, can you help me? Right? That person that is asking for relevant help, not do this because you're required to. Do you get the difference? Like the difference between that is do this because you're required to, which is like most women that I've met in my life, most black women that I've like experienced in my life. They're like, you do this because it's your duty, more or less. Let's say, for example, if you're a man of the house, you're expected to provide a bunch of stuff. You're expected to do a bunch of stuff. Those expectations like pile up. And for most black women, they're like very stern on that. Like I've seen my aunts, I've seen my uncles. They've learned how to adapt like through all of that. I'm like, you guys are just phenomenal. Like they do it because it's they think, or they don't overthink it. They're like, it's I can do it, I'll just do it. Right. I grew up with a personality, I can do it, I can just do it. I could survive with a black woman. Just let's say in the long run, I'll probably talk to her. Whether she wants to change or she doesn't want to change, it's impossible to convince them. Yeah, that's also one of the traits I was going to talk about. It's impossible to change something that thinks they're perfect. If a woman or a black woman, in most cases, that say she's 10, say she's a 10, yeah, trying to change that woman, it's almost impossible. Like, unless you speak like facts to the point where she feels just insanely stupid, she's not even going to listen to you at all. I've tried with my cousins. Not impossible. Like it's actually not possible. For example, I had this cousin that dropped out of religion. They're like, I'm not Christian anymore, and I don't believe in a God. And a couple of months after that, they were like, they believe in a higher power. I'm like, wait a minute. A couple of months ago, you dropped out of religion because you didn't want to believe in a God, but now you're saying there's a higher power. Isn't that just the same thing as saying that there's a God? They're like, no, no, it's so different. I'm like, like I spent almost hours in that argument, which in the end of it, they were like, well, you believe what you want to believe. I was like, that's exactly what the Christian arguments have ended up like. You just believe in another God somewhere. It's essentially paganism, as they call it. Like, why don't you just get up and say, oh, you don't believe in a God, and that's it? Why doesn't it just end there? They have to go as far as to replace. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think I've touched key aspects of it. So I've talked about the overconfidence. I've talked about the voice. Not bad. I've talked about the actually the voice is more like the dominance part of it, and also the screamy part of it. I've also talked about the inability to somewhat change. And these three things really makes it difficult, especially if you're a black man going into that sort of relationship with a black woman, because she expects you to understand them to the basic level. You're black too. You share the same color of skin, so that becomes a whole sort of complicated relationship. I, as an individual, I'm like, Well, if I'm getting married to a woman, for example, that's black, she should have shared a different culture. Like, let's say, for example, I'm from Cameroon. She's born and raised in the US. I'm fine with that. If she's born and raised in Canada, I'm fine with that because I'm in Canada currently. If she's born and raised, let's say, in another part of Africa that's not West Africa, I'm fine with that. We have like almost separate different cultures. Let's say she's born in South Africa, or she's born in Ethiopia, or she's born where in the Sahara deserts, or in Iraq or Israel. That is a whole sort of like different culture that I might be immersing myself into. We don't understand each other, but this sort of curiosity, trying to learn each other culture, is like a beautiful interaction that overall can keep a relationship lasting, because you're so curious about this individual at the beginning, and it just builds up more and more and more until it becomes like solidified. That's the basis of relationship. A lot of what people have been going to do, or the advice that social media has been giving to people these days, is all about finding things in common with individuals, which I think is just bogus. Like, you don't have to have so much in common with another person to make a relationship work. I think it should just be you guys are getting to know each other, and that sheer curiosity itself is interaction. I've seen social media apps. I've seen advertisements that like, um, if you don't play this game, for example, swipe me left. I think it's left. Yeah, swipe left. Swipe left if you don't play League of Legends. Swipe left if you don't play Valorant. Right? I don't play Valorant. I don't play League of Legends. I don't play Call of Duty. I don't play what is it, GTA. I think it's GTA. I don't play any of those like shooting games. Like, the only game that I can remotely play right now is like Fortnite, because a bunch of updates, cultural stuff, things that are happening in the real world, things that happen right now. Like, anytime they update the game, they're like putting new memes. It's more like I'm collecting information to the current society on the game while playing it. I don't play it all the time too. I'm not a game person. So, but I would definitely love a gamer girl, just because, well, they're playing the game and I can observe. That's my playing interaction. That I'm like, oh, you can do this. Well, change your technique with your hands. Just move the key a little bit differently, or why do you always do this instead of that? I can give you like critiques, which could help the person. Anyways, before I drifted on the cultural aspect of things, I was like, for a relationship to work, let's say with me and a black woman, like, it fundamentally has to be like a big cultural difference and very little similarity between both. If there's like even a mild similarity, that's fine. But like, there have to be like a huge enough cultural difference that will make me more curious about the person. And I think that can work for me. Any cultural curiosity, which is why, for the most part, I'm more, I didn't want to say it this way, but I'm more like open to women of other cultural backgrounds as compared to like the West African women. Because, well, the West African women, I get majority of them that like are able to travel and come abroad. They've learned how to cook. They've learned how to take care of kids. They don't probably complain as much. Probably, I'm not too sure. They are like, they're I would say they're usually family oriented, which is like most of them what I've met, they're like usually family oriented, which is like a very good thing to have, because, well, you can probably have four kids without women and she'll be like, let's have a fifth. So I'll say that's a plus for any man that's looking for a lot of kids out there. And if you're looking to like have like this sort of huge family bond, I know with African women it works like this. If you have more kids with them, there is a chance that she'll want to keep that sort of relationship going, as compared to like what I've seen in the Western world, which is like a woman who have like three kids with you and she'll divorce you the next day. It's weird. Like, that is just, I don't know if it's weird or just dumb. I don't get it. I don't get it. Well, let's say if the man cheated, it sort of makes sense for them to quit it. But if she just got up and say she got tired of the man, yeah, that is weird. That is seriously weird because, well, that man is never going to tell you he's going to get tired because guess what? He has three kids with you, and he probably is trying to be a role model for all three of them, unless he's not being a role model by cheating. But majority of the men, when they have children, I would say they'll get the instinct to just want to be a role model. Like I've raised kids. I'm not a dad, but I've lived in a house like of kids. I've had part in raising them, my aunt's kids, my uncle's kids, and those mild interactions with them made me feel like being a role model for them. When they were babies, I was either don't cry, don't cry, or I lift them up and I'm like, you're gonna be one day this strong. And maybe training their flexibility, their agility, or teaching them how to read or teaching them how to walk. And even seeing them develop their first accent or the first names that they call. Majority of kids always call my name first because it was so easy to call. So just so you know, my name is Jingua Valentine. So majority of the kids will always say Vai because Vai, that was like my nickname around when I was growing up, Vali. So a lot of the kids would just find it so easy to pronounce. They'll be like Vai. Like it's really close to Daddy. So it's like Vai. You don't really have to overstress as the da. It's like Va. So I sort of felt proud, like in those tiny moments, to feel like a role model. And I would say, I've drifted on one topic of black women again. Fudge. It always happens. But I'm sure you've gotten the information throughout this video that, well, it is really, really important to consider these things with a black woman. And also, I hope that maybe if a woman is watching this video, well, I hope you've considered maybe this aspect and try to consider like where the hell do these sort of stigmas come from? Like where does this notion come from? Like why do you adopt the same accent as a bunch of other girls? Why do you guys speak the same way? Is it because, well, the media has told you guys to speak that way? Is it because, well, your coolest stars like what, Cardi B or what the hell is the name again? I don't know a lot of them, but I think a lot of people now are switching like to this like almost white accent. Well, it's a cultural thing. Like I would say, the African women are more swept by cultural aspects, which is why you sort of have to almost isolate them from it slightly by keeping them always entertained and busy. Else, they follow the cultural trend. A little bit weird. I think almost all women is susceptible to cultural trends. Almost all. Some are not, which I find really impressive, by the way. And okay, end of the video, more or less. I was going to talk about my personal preference for this one. My personal preference overall, I would say, would be Asian women, mainly because, well, most of my friends are Asians, and a majority of them, which I've seen get into like relationships that look very, very, I mean, like extremely stable. Like I've seen them in a relationship with this girl for like what, 3 years, some 2 years, some they've proposed to each other already, and they don't have kids. And I'm like, that is one responsible looking relationship out there. Like how many people, how many people can hold a relationship with a girl for 3 years after they've left high school, right? And not produce kids irresponsibly till both of them have achieved their career to a certain point before they produce kids. Like how many people do that? That is pure, when I mean like pure planning, dedication, and strategizing right there. I'm like, that's something I want, right? It's not just something abrupt like, oh, we produce kids left and right and it's an accident, or you don't want to commit abortion because, well, the law say you shouldn't. I don't even want to bring the topic of abortion, but anyways, I do believe that, well, consummating your marriage before marriage itself should be a problem. It's risky. That's the biggest thing I would say. Is risky because I know a lot of youths there out there do it. A lot of people my age have already done it. Yeah, I basically confessed I am clean. I say clean because I don't want to use the other word, but I'm more or less like that. Freedom to the world. Anyways, I probably plan on holding that for quite a while. Although I feel like it's gonna be tougher for me these days. Like it's getting tougher. I don't know if it's because I'm having either glow up or a muscle up or something. I do muscle ups now, even. That's actually the weird part. I do muscle ups, but I'm having like a little period of glow up at the moment. And yeah, hopefully I keep it. And also, yeah, black women. You people are tough. Like I mean tough in the good and the bad way. And that is what terrifies me about like black women in general. The toughness. Anyways, I'll end the video and I would say advice out there. Be less tough, like to the men, the black men. They want very little responsibility. They want to feel very little responsibility. Like they want to have the responsibility, but they want to feel less responsible. Don't remind them of their responsibility. That's what I would say black man just hates the most. It reminds them of their mom. Yeah, you don't want to get married to your mom, and it pisses the hell out of you. Like anybody, they'll get so annoyed to the point where they'll not even speak when around you. And some of them just become silent. Like all my uncles and dads, they're like that's your face in public when they're like taking a photo with your wife in public. Not like rah. You're not even showing like the amount of responsibilities that have been placed to them. It's just so suffocating that I just feel bad. Anyways, I'll end the video. Adios. Let me sleep. I have to go and accompany my sister tomorrow at the field trip. Fun.